exploring my ecology using the document Considering Learning Edges at MyCat, Unit 6, 2024. And I'm just going to have a look at my ecology or try to look at it from the different lenses that have been offered up in that document. So the first lens is circle of capacity. And actually that is represented probably by the thread that I used as the edge. Sometimes it's thick, sometimes it's thin, sometimes it's quite easy to play with, and sometimes this is soft, but it's not easy actually, and sometimes it'll break because it's so tight. So there's something about that actually. I'm going back to that. When it's soft, there's more flexibility in it. When it's tight, it'll actually snap under the pressure. Okay, something about that around capacity for me and my learning edges is maybe to hold things gently and curious rather than fixed and firm. Second offering was the growth zone model. For me, as I'm heading towards, I kind of have to work hard to make myself be in the growth zone, because my pattern is sort of don't really like the dissonant. I have to sit in it and almost make myself go through that to be in my growth zone. So in order to do that, it means that I have to work really hard on building my capacity, feeling really grounded, being open and upfront rather than holding back what I'm experiencing with clients, inquirers, obviously in a very gentle way and authentic without oversharing. What I find though is when I share my embodied response with them, that can be viewed potentially as a moment of connectivity and relationality. And so instead of me judging that and feeling like that it's not okay to do that, I need to work more on owning that. So yeah, sometimes I kind of gotta go through and push through that fear to get to the growth. Next offering is considering the relationship with the word growth. And it kind of comes back to what I was saying before, is that it's not linear. Sometimes it goes horizontally. And actually when I look at my ecology, it's worked in a very horizontal way. I've sort of mapped here, and as I've progressed, I've gone across the table. So that's interesting. And even the weeds, when I was exploring them, they start from a center point and they go out. And as they go out more, they have the ability to go up. But they need that going out foundation before they can rise up. So that's an interesting concept around growth. Risk-taking. Oh, yeah, that's something that I have been working on a lot this unit, more around risk-taking in the moment, in the intersubjective realm in the moment, because the feedback I've been getting is when I do that, it's been fairly okay received, and even if it's not landed, they've appreciated the options and the choices coming from a different lens rather than their own. So I've been working on that a little bit, even though it's dissonant for me, and that ties in with growth and learning edges and circle of capacity. Creativity. You might like to consider learning as a form of creativity, which sits at the place of emergently being with the unknown. Oh yeah. What I found really interesting is sometimes it feels like all my makings look the same. And actually, there are some similarities, and then there are some stark differences. And I notice the creativity allows me to explore things that wouldn't ordinarily come up. And in fact, what's been richest for me this unit has been looking at the other side of the making with a light, so like the shadow of the making. The other part has been tearing a making and making it a bit smaller. This other one here was the blending, and then this one here was actually, this is just a representation of the activity, but it really called to me in the moment was the exploring the weeds in my backyard. So I felt that was, even though I wasn't making, I was being with and connected to country, and that it taught me something around companioning practice and ethics. Funnily enough, I can't really tell you 100% eloquently the exact learning edge. I can't, or it's kind of I'll do my best in the assignment maybe. The other lens is relational. Well, this is all relational. Every single piece relational. The coming together and how we can't help but impact each other. And how their materials actually supported that, because I remember them feeling quite wet and thick on my hands, and when I placed it on the paper my hands actually smudged out away from each other. And we still, even when we do that, when we smudge away, there's still that, interrelationality that happens. Yeah, I've got relational and intersecting stuff. Everything seems to be touching this unit in some way or another, like all these pieces are connected. It's all connecting. Interestingly enough, what's not is over here. So even though they're kind of more loosely connected, but they're not actually, the elements themselves aren't touching. So that's a little bit interesting. I think that because that's probably more me work. That's not really necessarily relational. Whereas a lot of this other stuff feels to be the relational side of things. A pattern or a tessellation. Has a pattern developed? Yeah, I think I've already talked about that enough. As a machine, the parts and their connections. Has a habitat. What does it need? Well, I think the weeds taught me a lot about habitat, growth. What is it fed by? That weeds pop up, ethics. They pop up and it's a constant work, and we might not always get rid of them. There might just be some underneath the grass. And interestingly enough, some of the weeds will have flowers, but the weeds also spoke to me around companioning practice in general and not just ethics. So almost one analogy able to explain different aspects for me. It's probably why I'm so fond of it, actually, is because of the usability of the analogy. I find that quite intriguing. And sometimes it could even be deemed or seen from a lens of contradiction because of the nature of weeds, I suppose, and the negativity bias that often comes with the thought of weeds. Anyway, those are my thoughts.